Hey everybody, and today we're gonna be looking at the real test task from real company as a part of real hiring process. Basically, this test task is for the position of senior automation QA specialist with the tech stack of Playwright and JavaScript or TypeScript. So here's a quick outline of this task. So there are like three, but I would say four test cases in general that need to be automated. The first one is open a specific page, click on the specific button and verify like the presence, which I would call the visibility of all the UI elements on the web page. The next task is going to be open the login page, enter invalid data, and verify the error message. And then we also got two tasks or like two cases where we need to automate the two API methods. To send dummy data or like the valid request body data and assert the response. But I think that that the API cases also would require us to to send invalid data chunks or like request bodies and assert what happens in that case. So we also got a few additional, let's say additional points which we or like requirements which we need to comply with. So the structure should be organized in a way that it's like easily extended or scaled, or like like extended in terms of test cases and functions. And we also need to use of course, the page object pattern and test fixtures. Well, given that this is Playwright, I don't know how you can live without these two. So this is like it's a must, I guess, right? So if you're like writing only raw tests and don't store and don't follow these best practices, don't store the data in proper way, don't manage it, you're like falling behind and you won't be able to scale much. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get on with the task. So at first, I'm gonna explain a little bit about the repository structure, and then show the how I done the assignments. So first we got the README file, which is kind of obvious. So we got a couple commands, to set up stuff and to run tests. Then we got .env. In my case, it's just .prod because we're just using one single environment, and I'm not adding this to git ignore because this is like a test task, and otherwise these things are gonna be lost, and we're not using the CI/CD in this task scope. So the next we got the package.json. We got all these commands and plus the UI mode. I think I'm gonna add that to the README file. And then we got the main configuration and child configuration for Chrome browser. So in the main config, we got set of projects, which is like all tests. We got UI tests and we got API tests. So yeah, that's about it. So we got like global setup, utils, reporters, and all that stuff. So and like artifacts retention. Yeah, and global timeout set to 1 minute. Also, sorry, I'm gonna change this to prod. So yeah, and then we got the child config for the Chrome browser. This is like a working config, so it inherits the properties of the base config and also adds some new stuff to that. So we're not running this headless, just to show you how it works. And yeah, so we got also like a slow motion to emulate the user's action a bit more, like in real life. And we got a set of Chrome capabilities right here. So the next thing we got in our repo is the test data, and the test data is stored like in the form of TS modules, which is at first which contain like constants which are exported basically like objects. So in our current setup, while I'm recording this piece, we got the base URL and a couple of URL slugs. So the first two UI tests. So we're not touching the API in this piece. This is gonna be a bit later in the next one. So yeah,
We got the slugs right here in the base URL, which are concatenated like in the video in the setups in the specs a little bit further. Then we got the base page, which serves like a main page, which is extended to all other page objects. So basically, what it has right here, we got the couple of methods, one of which opens the URL, which we're passing as a string, and another asserts like a piece of URL or like a substring, where we also pass the URL as an argument, which is set to string data type. Yeah. So the next we got the landing page, because our first assignment is to go to the landing page and click the open account button. So as I've mentioned, we extend, I'm going to remove the expect right here. So we extend the base page, which is described right here. And all the methods are being also like extended to this class. And in this class, we can, assert or click or like do some interactions with the elements on the web page. So in our case, we interact with the open account button. We just click it. So here's the method, here's the selector, and here's the type of the locator, which is like Playwright native method, or like a Playwright native interface. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we got this stuff, and then we also got like the sign up page and the sign in page. But I'm gonna just show you the first assignment right here, how it works. So this is the sign up page. We also like it extends the base page, and we got like a whole lot of like of selectors, of locators, which we define the types for at the beginning, and then we set the selectors right here. Provide the selectors. It's like mostly like semi-manual stuff. I was trying to be as distinct as possible right here. Of course, there's several methods to interact with the common selectors by passing additional arguments and storing them in the test data. But since this is like a tech task, I'm trying to be like as simple as I can be, while meeting the requirements of the tech task as well. So yeah, this is the set of the elements right here. And then we got one method which uses a lot of expects, a lot of assertions. And since the assignment says that we got to check that all the UI elements are present on the web page, this is exactly what I'm doing in this method. And yeah, the only difference here is the last line, the last expect, because it asserts the text that the footer terms and conditions link has specific text of this or of such. So let me now open the UI mode and actually run this thing, so you can see that it runs smoothly. Oh yeah, but I also forgot to show you the fixture. So I'm also using the fixture. This is like a fixture-based approach, just as the tech task says. So I add this my test.ts module to the utils folder, and what I do here, I import all the page objects right here, and I also import the test as base from the Playwright test. So like I take this this test native method from the like Playwright itself, and then like I used like one Medium article as a base for this setup. Which is kind of cool and kind of comfy, so then I do like I define the constant name test, and I extend this base, which was earlier imported as test as base, and I extend it with my fixtures with this type. So this type is provided right here, and then like I kind of elaborate on each and every let's say parameter right here. Okay, so like a property, and each and every property right here is basically initializes a new class instance of the page object. So base page is new base page with a page param argument, and landing page is new landing page. Then sign up, sign in, and you can add here whatever. So this kind of serves like a common point, which you can later on like provide in your spec. And here's the actual spec for the first assignment. So yeah, I import the test, which is like the fixture, which is an extended test right here, from the utils my test TypeScript module, and then I also import URLs from the test data, which I've just like shown you recently. So these constant, and here I got the describe and the actual like logic of the spec file. So I provide like I take landing page and sign up page, and I provide them like an arguments from this fixture. Like this is like the fixture based approach, at least how it works, to my understanding. And then we have the test steps. So first we need to navigate to the base URL. Then we need to click on the open account button, which is going to redirect us to the sign up page. And I think I also need to assert the URL right here. So let me just add this right here. Await test step asserts sign up page URL. Yeah, so basically I got the like an autocomplete right here. I know you like against using AI, but we cannot not use the AI, especially in this test because these autocompletions are like they really help, because like it reads my mind to some extent. Yeah, so it just helps me to do this stuff faster. And yeah, so I got to assert sign up page URL, and to do that I have to just pass the sign up URL slug, so I won't need like the whole URL. And yeah, after that is done, we're gonna assert that all of the UI elements are visible, and some of them have the desired text, like the expected text. Okay, so I had to do a little change in one of the methods, so let me show you just a little quick. I guess it's somewhere here. Yeah, in the base page. So by default, the Playwright's assert URL method only asserts like the full, the string or even the substring, like by full match, like the full match case. So I had to kind of extend it to accept like the rejects and options. And options, one of the options would be like optional. The param would be called, an argument is called exact, and it's a boolean. So if we want to, which means like if we are passing true, the assertion is gonna be done against the URL as it is. I mean, it's gonna assert like by full match case. But if we do not pass like this param, then the assertion is gonna be done by like the rejects. So the part, or like the URL is gonna be converted, or the substring of the URL is gonna be converted to a regex via this new regex method, and then the assertion is gonna be done as usual. So finally, let me show you how this test runs. Okay, so let's once again in the spec. So we are visiting the main page, then we click the open account button, then we assert that the URL is as it should be on the sign up page, and then we assert the UI elements like visibility and text in some of them. So yeah, let me open this stuff. Let me open the UI mode. So this is the UI mode right here, and let me kind of run this test right now. So here we are on, yeah, we have redirected to the sign up and made the assertions, and it passes. So let me open this to see it like clear. Let me open this to see it in details. So we navigate to the main page, then we click on this selector, on the open account button. Then we expect the page to have this URL of the sign up page, and then we begin to assert the elements on the page, right? So we start with the logo, Beardo logo at the top left. Then we assert the image and the text of the carousel, I mean like the slider. Then we assert the slider pagination, or the swiper. Then we go to the back to the home page button on the actual page. Then we assert the login button. Then we assert the create a personal account header, the title, I'm sorry. So we got the email title or the label. Then we assert the tooltip button, or the tooltip element icon. Then we assert that the element input is there. Then we assert that we do the same thing with the password. So we assert the label, the field and the I, which is kind of like show and hide the password, shows and hides it. Then we assert each and every requirement by the inner text it contains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we assert the same components for the confirm password field, like the label, then the field itself, and the I right here. The next thing we do, we assert the create an account button. We do not assert whether it's disabled or not, so because the technical task states to to assert all the elements out there on the page, so it doesn't specifically state the state of the element. Then we assert the next button, which tells us to switch to create a business account. Then we assert a couple of elements in the footer. So first we assert the text, then we assert the link, terms and conditions, and then we assert the actual text where like that link is embedded. So once again, here is how this test runs. Yep, and it's done in about 5 or 6 seconds. So that's about it. Okay, so in this next case, this is the second case from the test task. So I gotta go to the login page, then gotta fill the email and password with invalid credentials, click login and assert that the error message appears right here. So let me check. Let me open my Playwright setup for this one. So here I got a new page object, which is called sign in page, which basically contains all the only difference from the previous one is that it contains an interface, which is credentials, which is like a TypeScript thing. So it's gonna be like more comfortable for us, like more understandable, readable on what we should pass into the subsequent methods. So we also got the selectors. They're described right here. Nothing fancy about it. There's just like 4 of those, like email, password, then the login button, and the info block, just the block with this, the error info block, to be specific. And then we got 2 methods. So the first one is gonna like perform the sign in, so fill both fields and click the login button, and the next one's gonna assert the sign in error, but we're gonna pass the custom message. I mean, I've made it in a way so that it is easily extendable if you have like other error messages on the web page. So where do we have the data? Yeah, so this is the test data, and here we have our invalid credentials object, and I mean the constant, and the error messages constant, which are both objects. And for this specific case, I needed to add new base URL, which is like the account base URL, simply because we use it on the sign in, sign up pages. Probably we'll also use it when we're logged in. So this is like a different domain level. Whenever like we go to the landing page, we don't have that. So like this is like a simple base URL in our case, and this is the account base URL. Okay, so well, let me now show you the spec. So I've added this test into our already existing spec, UI spec. And what it's gonna do is gonna use like the landing page and the sign-in page. Well, actually, I think there is no need for the landing page right here. We gotta delete that. So we're just only using the sign-in page object for this one. So we're gonna open the URL, which is concatenated from the base URL account and the sign-in URL slug, which are these two. So this one and the sign-in URL slug. So the next step is we're gonna assert the sign-in page URL and assert that it contains that slug in the URL, and then we're gonna perform a sign-in with the invalid credentials that we are passing from the Beardo data file, and last but not least, we're gonna perform the sign-in error assertion, which in this error message we also pass it from our error messages constant right here. So this one. So I already have the Playwright UI open, and let me run this little thing right here. So as you can see, we receive the message, the error message, and we assert it, and the test is done. So let me ride you through this thing. So we go to the web page, we assert the URL, partial URL, then we fill email field, we fill the password field, click login, and then we assert the visibility of this error block at first, and then we assert the text of the error block, and that's it. And let's finally talk about these two API test cases. So first things first, like I mentioned that this is an abstract API, so it doesn't exist. So I cannot physically like run these tests to show you how they run. So I'm just going to explain the structure, just because the technical task states so. And yeah, first and foremost, we got our API data sorta, data file, which is going to contain get user data and create user data. The first is going to be used for the get method. The second is going to be used for the post method. So we either get user information by user ID, or we create new user using this data, and it returns us an ID and another parameter. Then we also do have the API sort of page object, but I would call this an API object. It's the same. The approach here is the same as with the selectors, with the classical page objects. It's just that this is like used strictly to describe API methods, and possibly some more complex logic if it exists within those methods. But since this is just a technical task and the API itself is not real, so we stick into the structure. So we got interface, which is going to be used in one of the methods to create new user. And then we got this class, which uses a couple of parameters. So we got the default expected status, and we're using the Playwright native method, which is called API request context. So we set it as a request. We also grab the imaginary, fake, or obfuscated, for the purpose of this vid, like the base URL of the API. I don't know that like the real API here, and I don't have access to it because it's gated. So it's like under a login wall, sorta. Like a GWT token or like a Beardo token, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, this is so we got this part, and then we got two methods described, which are pretty simple. This is like our imaginary API is a REST API. So we got the get user and post user, which is create user, and we got first the get user accepts the user ID, which is a string. And then we got the constant, which is called response, and we wait for this request to execute, which is basically the Playwright-ish method of triggering the API endpoint. And we pass the URL, we pass it from the constructor, and we add this log right here. And we also got the headers, which is app.json, and we're like passing in this imaginary API. We're passing our like arguments, which in this case is a user ID. So we need to pass some specific user ID to get the data for that or of that specific user. And we return response in the form of JSON at the very end of it. So, and then we got create user. And we got the requirement in our test task that the user age must be between 1 and 100. So, I don't know, like included or not. If included, I guess it's gonna be like this and like this. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so when we create user, we got this condition because our test task says so. And yeah, we also throw the error if it is not. So the next thing we do is we have like the approach is the same right here. We got the constant of response, and we wait for the post request to execute and return us the response, which we convert into JSON or like parse, right? And we get it. We can get it like and write it into some variable or constant within the spec. So we send the body. We use like the interface to send the body of the request in this form. So we got username, age, and user type. And last but not least is our spec file. So in our spec file, we import the test data, we import like the fixtures, and we got two tests. So the first one is we write in this step, we write the response into the constant, which is the get method, the results, or like response. And we assert the status code at first to be 200. And then we also, we start assertions of those requirements that are given in the test task. In my case, this is like, we expect the response to have the property of username. We expect the type of this property to be a string. So not number, not Boolean, and whatever. The next we assert an age in the same manner, but in our case age is going to be a number, and we have like these two assertions specifically for this interval. Like, how do you call that? I forgot this technique from the QA theory. I guess it's called like border values or whatever, like borderline values. Can't remember, but I know what it means. I just remember what it means, but I don't remember the term. So yeah, we got this stuff, and we also got the response. We assert that it has the property of user ID, and we assert that the type of the user ID is string. So the next thing we got is the next basically test, which invokes the post user method, and we pass this sort of interface like or this object with the test data. Because it is built in the same manner as this interface, and we pass it to our API method. And then we also assert that the status is 200, so that like it can be whatever, but so that you get the point of how what is like the most like appropriate or like a good practice or good approach in building these tests so that it's easily scalable and maintainable. And we also assert that so this stuff is going to return us a response with two props, and the first prop is going to be user ID, and we assert that it's also a string, and another one is going to be username, and we assert that it is also a string. So yeah, just like I said, I cannot demonstrate you how this stuff runs because this is not a real API, but the structure remains like this. And I would, most likely I would use this approach to automate REST API on a real project, or even GraphQL API, which is built in a very similar manner from the framework point of view. I mean, the test data storage, the API methods description, the fixture of this API object sorta, and then importing all the modules right here and basically writing assertions within the tests if this API is not very complex. So yeah, that's how it goes, and thanks for for being with me on this demo, and yeah, see you around.